Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to getting truly informed, pulling the most vital insights straight from the pages of Addis Fortune, Ethiopia's biggest English weekly.
That's right, no fluff, just the core knowledge you need. Today, we're digging into a whole stack of recent reports from the paper.
We'll be covering some major shifts: economic, legal, social, tech, basically what's shaping Ethiopia right now.
And our goal is simple: help you connect the dots, understand what really matters, maybe even uncover a few surprises along the way.
Think of it as looking at how Ethiopia's, older ways of doing things are bumping up against these big new changes. Ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, first up, the economy. Addis Fortune's been covering this massive tax reform. The government's pushing it hard, saying it's progressive.
The main goal is to plug this growing federal budget gap. They want to get the tax to GDP ratio up from, about 8% now?
Yeah, to double digits within 3 years. That's the plan. But, what does it actually feel like for people?
Well, that's where you see the real tension. The reporting highlights that for the nearly 7 million salaried workers, that's like 15% of the workforce, it doesn't feel like much help.
So they raised the tax-free income level from 600 birr to 2,000.
Exactly, which gives, at most, about 1,050 birr back. But with inflation soaring and wages pretty much flat,
it barely registers.
Right. There was this quote from a resident, Yerdu Buredid, that really stuck out in the paper. Now the money is nothing. I can't do anything even when I have it.
Wow, that says a lot. And the articles point out this huge difference in how salaried people are taxed versus entrepreneurs.
Oh yeah, it's stark. Someone earning, say, 14,000 birr a month pays over 34,000 birr in tax annually if they're salaried.
Okay.
But an entrepreneur with the same income, they only owe around 5,600 birr.
That's quite a gap. Accountants like Iyasu Girma were quoted saying it's just not fair and could actually, discourage people from taking formal jobs.
Absolutely. And it's not just individuals feeling the squeeze. Businesses are facing this new 2.5% turnover tax.
Turnover, meaning total sales, not profit.
Exactly. Even if the company's losing money, business groups are questioning if that's even constitutional.
I can imagine. Safaricom Ethiopia was mentioned.
Yeah.
Right? Huge company, lots of subscribers.
But they're projecting a 4 billion birr loss. They won't break even until maybe 2026, and they've asked for relief from this tax. Makes sense. Other big players like East African Holdings are raising similar concerns.
And the tax net is widening elsewhere too. I saw something about savings interest.
Doubled, up to 10% now. Bank leaders are warning this might actually push people away from formal saving, maybe into informal cash-based stuff, which is not ideal for the financial system.
Definitely not.
Plus, the tax authorities are now looking at freelancers, content creators.
Yeah.
Podcasters too, social media influencers, even consultants working across borders.
So trying to capture the gig economy.
Sort of. But the concern, flagged by experts in Addis Fortune, is that the rules are murky. Poor policy design, administrative overreach, procedural opacity. Basically, it's confusing and might be hard to comply with.
And that leads back to trust, doesn't it? There was that quote from Miki's Mulugida.
Oh yeah. We are taxed not because we are rich, but because we are visible. It really captures that feeling, why pay more if you don't see services improving? It phrased that social contract.
Okay, shifting gears slightly, but still on the economy. Addis Fortune reported on a big push to digitize fuel sales. What's behind that?
It's about credibility, really. The Petroleum and Energy Authority found really low use of digital payments at stations, like 10% for regular gas, 9% for diesel.
Which suggests
diversion, fuel ending up on the black market instead of going through the pumps legally. The government's cracking down hard fines up to 350,000 birr, even jail time.
Wow. But can the stations actually comply? Especially out in rural areas, internet access must be patchy.
That's exactly what operators are saying. Systemic problems like spotty internet make it tough. The authorities say they'll consider these things, but experts are suggesting maybe more is needed. Things like biometric ID for fuel buyers, GPS on the tankers, maybe QR codes on receipts, more tech to plug the gaps.
Okay, makes sense. Now, something potentially more positive, the startup scene. After years of waiting, this new startup law finally passed.
Yeah, this is a big deal. It's been in the works for 5 years. The aim is to properly define, support, and, formalize Ethiopia's tech ecosystem.
And how will it do that? What are the perks?
Well, things like corporate tax holidays up to 5 years, easier certification, a national digital portal to cut through the red tape. We're talking about supporting over 500 startups that already employ, 30,000 people?
Sounds promising. But
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs optimistic, given, past experiences with bureaucracy.
Cautiously optimistic is how Addis Fortune put it. Entrepreneurs like Hannah Kavekulu and Kiribel Ingiduwork mentioned in the articles, they welcome the idea, the protection.
But
they're skeptical about how quickly it will actually be implemented. If getting through the paperwork still takes forever, the incentives don't mean much, and worries about government departments not coordinating.
And the age-old problem.
Yeah.
Funding.
That's still the single biggest barrier, according to Ermias Ventall. The law is great, but access to capital is key.
And tech isn't just about startups. We're seeing it pop up elsewhere, too. Finance, land management.
Absolutely. Awash Bank and M-Pesa just launched a digital overdraft service, Arif BM-Pisa, to boost financial inclusion. Santampay is even assembling POS machines locally now.
Reducing reliance on imports.
Exactly. Aligning with the National Digital Payment Strategy. And even the Addis Ababa Land Bureau is going digital, issuing tens of thousands of digital land certificates. That should improve service and maybe tackle some corruption issues.
Okay, so lots happening on the economic and tech fronts. Let's switch over to justice and governance. Addis Fortune had a big piece on eCourt Ethiopia. Sounds major.
It really is. The plan is to digitize pretty much the entire court process by August 2026. Civil cases start piloting this September.
The whole thing. Filing, hearings, everything.
That's the vision. A 2.2 billion birr project. Think wide area networks connecting courts, automatic transcription in courtrooms, integrated case management.
The potential benefits seem huge. Faster justice, less travel for lawyers.
Justice Abibi Solomon from the Federal Supreme Court called it game-changing, aiming to cut delays by months, even years, and more transparency.
But the flip side, potential problems.
The big one is digital exclusion. What about areas with bad internet? Or people who aren't digitally literate? Experts are warning they need robust infrastructure and constant monitoring to make sure the system serves everyone fairly.
Right, access is crucial. Now, this next story from the paper really caught my eye. NIB Bank suing its own former leaders.
Yeah, pretty unprecedented.
Yeah.
NIB International Bank is suing 30 former board members, execs, auditors, claiming over $500 million birr, $507 million in losses.
$500 million? What are they accused of?
Gross mismanagement, basically. Breaching regulations, potential self-dealing, some really serious stuff.
Like what specifically?
Well, approving over $5 billion birr in loans when the National Bank had explicitly told them to pause new lending. Allegations that some former officials steered business or benefits to their own companies.
So conflicts of interest.
Allegedly, yes. Also, claims of manipulating financial reports, which apparently led to the bank overpaying its taxes and racking up huge regulatory fines, over 132 million birr, because of decisions made by these former leaders.
It really throws a spotlight on corporate governance issues, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Oversight, transparency in the financial sector. This case brings it all to the forefront.
And from corporate drama to family drama. Addis Fortune also covered a pretty intense inheritance battle.
Ah, yes, the Hailu Shaul case. He was a major figure, engineering, politics. Now his sons are locked in this bitter dispute over his estate.
What's the core issue?
Two sons, Nadu and Samson, are suing others in the family. They're alleging assets are being mismanaged, that corporate ownership is all tangled up and unclear, especially concerning big assets like Lafto Mall.
And they feel shut out.
They claim they've been systematically marginalized, haven't seen any dividends since 2017, and suspect family funds are being used personally. It's a complex, messy look at what happens with wealth transfer when family relationships break down.
Okay, let's move to societal shifts. Education is a big one. There's a debate raging, sparked by the Minister of Education, about private schools.
Yeah, it's become quite heated. The minister basically suggested private schools are just about profit, and families should stick to public schools.
But the reporting in Addis Fortune pushes back on that.
It does. It brings in international examples, South Korea, the UK, where private schools are part of the mix, often supported by the government. And critically, it points out the massive challenges in Ethiopia's public schools.
The learning poverty statistic was shocking.
90%. 90% of kids can't read and understand a simple story by late primary school. And those grade 12 exam results, over 95% failing nationally in recent years. It's a crisis.
So in that context, private schools
are filling a huge gap, especially in Addis. They make up almost 3/4 of schools there and generally perform better. Competition probably drives some of that.
But they face tough regulations.
Very tough. Things like banning extra enrichment activities, and these really unusual caps on tuition fee increases only once every 3 years, and parents have to approve. It puts financial pressure on them, could even lead to closures.
So the question isn't really if they should exist.
Right. It's more about how to best regulate and maybe even leverage them, rather than undermining the very schools that are currently plugging a critical hole in the system.
Interesting. Now, from policy to something more everyday. Winter camps in Addis Ababa. Sounds like a new trend.
Oh, definitely. Addis Fortune painted this picture of a booming industry. Forget the old days of kids running wild during breaks.
Now it's structured activities.
Totally. French lessons, cooking, taekwondo, pottery. You name it. From relatively affordable options around 7,000 birr.
Yeah.
High-end hotel programs costing nearly 90,000 birr.
Wow. That's a huge range. What does it signify?
Well, partly parental ambition, right? Wanting kids to be competitive, gain skills, maybe even status. But it also throws that inequality into sharp relief. One parent quoted said, "A camp cost more than my monthly salary."
Oof.
Psychologists say these experiences can be good for development, but the whole industry is largely unregulated. So questions remain about quality, access, and what it all means economically.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit to global trends discussed in the paper. People keep talking about globalization ending. Is it?
Not ending, evolving. That's the argument from experts like Zia Qureshi, formerly of the World Bank, featured in Addis Fortune. Geopolitics, like the U.S.-China tension, is definitely reshaping things, fragmented supply chains, maybe.
But not a full retreat.
No. Global economic links are too deep. Trade is still nearly 60% of global GDP. It's changing shape, not disappearing.
What's driving the change then?
A big one is digital tech, AI. That's actually boosting connectivity, especially in services, this idea of weightless globalization, think data flows, remote work.
Right, and climate change.
That's another driver. It'll force supply chains to adapt and also create new markets for green tech and services. The real danger, the articles suggest, isn't globalization itself, but bad policy responses to these shifts.
Speaking of global issues and policy, migration. Addis Fortune had a sharp critique of EU policies towards African migrants.
Yes, Adekai Adebayo's analysis called the EU's decade-long crackdown appalling, especially a leaked idea to tie development aid directly to countries stopping migrants.
Even though Europe has aging populations and arguably needs migrants.
Exactly. But the narrative often frames irregular migration purely as a security threat.
How do African governments see it? They rely on remittances, don't they?
Hugely. Remittances hit $100 billion in 2022, more than aid and foreign investment combined. So African governments generally oppose forced returns.
And the EU's partnerships with third countries.
The reporting suggests they've often involved human rights issues and haven't really stopped the flow anyway. It just alienates African partners. The call is for policies based on, well, shared humanity and addressing root causes like lack of development.
Before we wrap up, there were two more pieces in Addis Fortune that felt really insightful, maybe on a more personal level.
Ah, yes. First, that piece on the invisible bias against fathers who are active caregivers.
Right. The idea that men get praised or looked at funny just for doing basic parenting tasks that are expected of mothers.
Exactly. Pointing out things like changing tables only being in women's restrooms. It argues this bias puts extra burdens on mothers and totally undervalues what involved fathers contribute. It's a call to see fatherhood as an equal commitment.
A really important perspective. And the other piece, a warning.
A stark warning about information pollution. How the same tech that could help fight climate change is also flooding us with misinformation, especially on platforms like X or TikTok.
Driven by algorithms and profit.
Yeah, spreading divisive content faster than facts, making it harder to have the conversations we need to have about huge crises like climate change. It draws a parallel between environmental pollution and this information pollution.
Urging us to challenge the business models behind it.
Precisely. Recognizing how interconnected these problems, climate breakdown, and information chaos really are.
So, quite a journey we've taken today, all through the lens of Addis Fortune. From tax reforms, startup dreams, court battles,
to debates on education, how childhood is changing, global migration, even biases in parenting, and the digital world.
Hopefully this deep dive has given you a clearer picture of the complex forces shaping Ethiopia right now, connecting those dots we talked about.
And showing how these stories, reported week after week, paint a picture of a nation grappling with change on so many levels.
As we finish, here's something to think about. We saw this recurring theme, old systems meeting new realities. Whether it's tax collection facing the gig economy, or traditional courts going digital, or public schools versus private demand. So, thinking about everything we discussed, what specific old way of thinking or new technology do you think holds the most potential to accelerate progress in Ethiopia? Something to mull over.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Stay curious, stay informed, and we'll catch you next time.